exciting. So I am going to read the question. It's a really, really sad question this morning, and then I'm going to answer it. And I hope that the person that asked me the question is listening, because of course I don't know who's asked me the question, because my special page that you go to ask me, elizabethroebuckjones.com/ask, is 100% confidential. So you submit your question anonymously to me. Okay. So my husband has stopped making eye contact, is what I've called it. My husband has all of a sudden stopped making eye contact and doesn't seem to want to face me while making love. Am I being paranoid? I don't think that he is in love with me anymore. I recently caught him in a lie about his whereabouts. He told me he was with a friend staying overnight in a hotel to pick up his new car in the morning, and later supposedly admitted to being there alone. He said that he lied to make me feel more comfortable about the overnight stay. He also seems to make a store run run 3 to 4 times a week once we have already gotten home and settled in. Something just doesn't feel right in my gut. I feel really sad reading this. I just feel so sad for you on so many levels. You must be feeling just absolutely devastated with what's going on, because it's not just that he's lying to you, it's the way he's treating you. He's being so disrespectful of you, and that really upsets me terribly. I'm really pleased to hear that you are listening to your instinct. That is incredibly important. So many times, I can dance, how are you? So many times I hear of girls who will have these sort of things going on, and I don't think it's wrong to go out and ask girlfriends for their opinion, or come in here and ask me to answer, things like that. But I do think if you're not listening to your own gut and you're not linking into how you're feeling, that really upsets me, because it means that you're not listening to yourself, and your instinct is there for a reason, you know. It's there to keep you safe. So if your instinct's going off, you need to trust that your instinct is actually telling you the right thing. I really want you, as much as I'm sure you are feeling devastated, angry, disrespected, all of those things, I want you to really try and hold on to yourself. And I know that is incredibly difficult, but I really want you to try and do that. Because here's the thing. You don't want to be in a space where he can, you know, feel justified maybe in shouting back at you. You want to be in a space where you're being the very best person you can be, and you're doing everything you can to open up the channels for your partner to speak to you. You know, clearly something's going on to make him feel that he can exit the relationship like this. And that's not to say that you've done anything wrong. It might be, I mean, you haven't said how long you've been together, but it might be a long-term relationship, and it might be that, you know, the spark's gone, or you've lost connection, or whatever that looks like. And so it's important that if you really want to work on the relationship, that you give as much opportunity for those channels of communication to be as open as possible. So I really want you to think about how you can hold on to how you're feeling. Now, there is a thread in our group called Relationships Rant. I might give it a bump and put it back up to the top so you can see it. And if you want to put something on Relationships Rant, you can certainly send me a message through Facebook Messenger, and I can post it up for you if you want to stay anonymous. And it's really a space for you to be able to air out, you know, without even talking to friends in your life, to be able to air out how you're feeling before you confront your partner, so that we can all give you some feedback about what you might say, things you should think about, that sort of thing. So I've set that thread up, and I'll give it a bump back up to the top so you can find it. So I really want you to really be in your integrity. This is really important, because you don't have to raise your voice or be abusive or do anything that he might do towards you in order to put your point across. In fact, the calmer you are and the more articulate you can be, the more I think you will be able to maybe even tap into those feelings of guilt that surely he has about how he's treating you, especially if you've been in a long-term relationship. So look, I can't tell you what to do. I mean, it might be that you just want to leave the relationship, that your instinct's gone off. Maybe this has happened before. I don't know. I can't tell you what to do. But if you do feel that you want to step back into the relationship and speak to him, then I would strongly suggest that you wait until things are quiet. I'm just looking at my notes because I've got a written answer for you here as well. I want you to wait until it's quiet. And I want you to just ask him, does this relationship, is it important to you anymore? Does this relationship matter to you anymore? And if he looks at you questioningly, say to him just very calmly, I've noticed that you've handled the truth carelessly, or you've left out details about your life that you would normally talk to me about. Be careful about using the word lying, because that's really accusatory. So, say something like, maybe you haven't quite told me the truth about things, or maybe you've left things out that maybe you ordinarily would have talked to me about. And then what I would say to him is, and maybe say to him, I've noticed you've made a few extra trips out that you wouldn't normally make. And I've noticed, most importantly, that when we're intimate, you won't look at me. And that's not something that we've had in our relationship before. So I've noticed all these changes and I'm feeling really disrespected. So bring it back to you. I'm feeling really disrespected. And I really want to know what you think of our marriage. Now, if he goes off and says, oh, this, that, the other, you've done this, you've done that, 3 bags full, just let him go, but don't buy into it, because that could be a tactic to completely derail the conversation. You don't want to get caught up in splitting hairs about, where the Vegemite is in the cupboard or whatever, or who left the toilet seat up, or yesterday you lied to me as well, or whatever. You don't want to get caught up in that. Just say to him, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I think it's really important. And I do want to talk about all those things. But I've asked you a question. I want to know if you think, if our relationship is important to you. If you think our relationship is important. And just sit back and wait. Now, if you get a whole lot of deflection, that gives you important information. If he won't answer the question, that gives you very important information. Because it tells you he's not willing to engage. You can go away with it on face value and say, I couldn't get an answer out of him. But actually he is answering you. Because he's not respecting you enough to give you an answer, yes or no. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, yes, the relationship is important to me, which then is the engagement back in to work on the relationship. Or no, it's not, which then means you take from that what's important to you, which is either that you stay in the relationship and you wait it out and whatever, you kind of put your boundaries up to keep yourself safe, but you stay in the relationship and you wait for him to come to his senses, or you decide to leave. It's up to you what you feel you would want to do about that. But it's really important information, because it tells you he's not engaging. It might be the relationship still is important, but it could well be that he wants his cake and eat it too, And then you have to sort of say to yourself, well, am I going to let this happen to me? And if I am going to stay in the relationship, what are the boundaries that I'm going to put in place to keep myself emotionally safe while he is acting out like this? Now, that could mean that you if possible, you move out of the bedroom. It could be that, you stay in the bedroom with him, but you're not going to willingly have sex with him. It could be that you are going to start building a separate life for yourself while you wait for him to come to his senses. I don't know. Or it could be that you go and live with a girlfriend, or you move back home, or you get a place for yourself. I don't know. I'm not sure of your circumstances, but what I do know is that you need to call some boundaries with him. So, be really mindful that you need to be looking at your own self-respect in this. If you don't respect yourself, how can you expect anybody else to respect you? If you don't treat others with respect and be really, really clear about what you mean and what you say, how can you expect him to do the same for you? So that means that what you say to him is you know, I can't, if he sort of deflects, then you say, look, I've asked you a question and you're not paying me the respect of answering it. Don't allow yourself to be deflected, whatever you do, because that often happens in very heated arguments. You go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Just keep asking. Use the broken record technique. I don't know. I think I may well have done a course on this a while ago. I know I'm going to do either an online course or a face-to-face course on all the different boundary techniques. And one of them I talk about is called the broken record technique. And that is, don't let yourself get drawn in. Just keep going back to that same question you've asked. And that is our marriage important to you? Oh, I'm getting little thumbs up, you know, because otherwise you'll come out of it and you'll go, well, what was that all about? Other than a great big volcanic eruption. I haven't got what I wanted. You know, so you're looking for yes, no, or you're looking, you know, if he's deflecting you, that's information. Don't forget that. That is definitely very, very clear information that, you know, it might not feel like it is, but it actually is, because he's avoiding answering you. So it tells you that he's either wanting his cake and eat it too, or he's not prepared to tell you what's really going on, or he, you know, maybe he does value the relationship, but, you know, he isn't ready to tell you. And all of these things are pretty disrespectful. At the end of the day, they're disrespectful. So the important thing I want you to do is I want you to focus on you, your boundaries, rebuilding your self-respect, rebuilding your confidence, and working out what you want. And most importantly, if you call a boundary with your partner, you must stick to it. So if you say to him, if you continue with this behaviour of disrespecting me, and you name the things, so not looking at me when we're having sex, lying to me by omission, or you know, or just not telling me things and I find out later. So be careful, you know, with your languaging. If you want to use the word lying, if that feels right for you, use it. But just be really careful. You want to use, you know, words that aren't accusatory as much as you can to keep the level of the conversation nice and stable. So, you know, and doing these really, you know, different behaviours, like leaving the house and, you know, saying you're going off on shopping runs and I'm not quite sure what's going on. If this continues, I cannot stay in this relationship. If that's what you say, you must be prepared to make good on it. So don't say it unless you mean it. Okay? So if the boundary is I'm moving out of the bedroom, then you do it. Yeah? Because if you don't, and you keep making these empty threats, what happens is your partner goes away and thinks, oh, well, she has a bit of a hissy fit, but she gets over it. And then the day you do leave, he'll be in such shock that he may well look at you and say, why didn't you tell me? And you'll be there saying, I've been telling you for years. And he'll be like, no, you haven't. I've had couples sit in front of me and say this, where the partner, the female partner said, I've been telling you for years, if you kept doing X, Y, Z, I would leave you. And he said, but no, you didn't. What's happened is the threat has been diluted so much that the partner hasn't heard it. So don't ever, if you're going to make good on something, you make good on it. So always, you know, I think if you're kind of going to train your partner into this way of thinking, you start with a small thing first. So if you say to him, if you keep doing this, I'm going to move out of the bedroom, then you move out of the bedroom. It's a big one, but you're not actually leaving the relationship. You know, it's like this. So you're bringing him around to the fact that you are becoming a new version of yourself that has clear, firm boundaries that you will act on. Because if you've been making empty threats before, train him, absolutely. And in fact, Sarah, that's what I'm trying to say to you, with trying to get you to think about this languaging with this person being able to talk to their partner, because you're training him on how to speak to you. Yeah? So if you give him respect and space to explain to you why he's done the things he's done, you might be absolutely furious. It is far more effective for you to say, I am so furious with you at this moment, than to say, you effing, you know. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're owning it, and you're still able to express that you are absolutely furious with him, and yet you hold on to yourself. And at the end of it, You're the one that has spoken your truth and has stayed in your integrity. If he chooses to swear and scream and accuse you and all that, he's the one that's lost hold of himself, not you. And you walk out of that having heard yourself be a really, really good person in your integrity. Whereas if you let loose, you come out of it and you've, not only has he, by saying horrible things to you, chipped away a part of yourself, you've done it to yourself. You've eroded even your own self-confidence, because you go away and you think about it, you realise you've lost something. You know, especially girls who are in abusive relationships will often say to me, he makes me do things I would never otherwise do. He makes me say things I would never say. And they feel crap about it. Don't let him do that to you. You know, don't let him do this. You know, take it elsewhere. But be in your integrity. When you speak to someone, be in your integrity. And that trains them how to speak to you. Because if you don't go up to that level, you know, you're holding on to yourself. You know, you can't control what he does. And if he's abusive, if he's even physically abusive, and he chooses to be like that, and some men, in terms of power and control, their abusive behaviour will come out of feel like it comes out of nowhere. There usually is a pattern. It's just that because you're so in the relationship, you can't see it. But he may choose to physically abuse you, grab hold of you, drag you across the floor, whatever, to destabilise you and frighten the living crap out of you, to control you. That's about him. Nothing you do should ever make you feel that you have caused someone to be abusive towards you. Yeah? Never, never, never. Every woman should always feel safe enough that if she wants to scream like a banshee, she can, and be safe to do it. But what I'm talking about is, how do you feel afterwards when you've done that? Now, maybe you've let everything out and it makes you feel better, but you're not in your integrity when you do that. And it's not good for the relationship. Because as much as you don't make him do anything, your harsh words towards him, just as his harsh words towards you, chip away at your heart. And eventually there's nothing left. There's no goodwill left in the relationship. And that's why I talk about the cycle of violence, that every time we go around it, the argument, the pause, the pursuit, the honeymoon, the build-up, every time we go around, if we let loose in it in a really toxic way, we erode the boundaries of the relationship. We erode the goodwill in the relationship. Eventually, the nice parts of the cycle are gone, and all that's left is argument, you know, pause, build up, argument, and we miss all the nice parts, and then the relationship is over. Whatever that looks like, whether you're still together or not. So always be mindful of that. It's something I've always taught my children, is if you don't have anything nice to say, just think about how you are going to say it. You can always let it out afterwards, on your own, with a friend, a very trusted friend, with your counsellor, you know, but just be mindful that, you know, your relationship, when you have a commitment with someone, it's not a license to let loose. And if your partner, you know, does that to you, it's not okay. It's not okay. And nothing that you do ever makes someone abuse you. Ever, ever, ever. Yeah? So that's where, you know, it's really important to just hold on to yourself. Don't let him rile you up. Don't let him lose your sense of self. That's part of the abuse. And if he's doing this to you, he's looking for a reaction to make you lose yourself. That's part of the power and control. And, you know, we're not going into that space. So you're going to teach him how to treat you. So definitely, you know, if you've been a person that's made empty threats, don't suddenly make good, because he'll be in shock. And that doesn't mean to say his behaviour is right, But we do know that men who go and look outside of a relationship, there's something going on within the relationship that's causing them to want to step out. Doesn't make the behavior right, but it helps us understand it. So when you speak to him, you want to keep the channels as open as possible if you're wanting to restore the relationship. If this is the last straw for you, then it might be that you want to start taking some steps to disengage. And of course we know that women, whenever they leave a relationship, are incredibly, I think I looked at the stats yesterday, it is something like 50% of women who leave a relationship will be harmed or put in hospital and or killed by their partner. And I'm quite sure here in Australia there are a lot of murders we don't hear about that happen in family violence because the partners decided to leave and they haven't taken steps to keep themselves safe. I've actually written a post, I think it's going up next month, called Safety Planning for when you leave your relationship, that has a whole lot of tips you can follow to keep yourself safe when you're leaving a relationship. Even if you really do not believe your partner would harm you, just being mindful of some really basic things you can do just to make sure that you keep yourself in a really safe space. I've never ever lost a client. Every time I hear in the media of a murder, it's usually pretty clear if it's a family violence murder. It often happens when the woman has tried to leave the relationship, and my heart skips a beat, and I go cold as I listen, because I just, all I think is, please God, don't let it be one of my girls. Please God, don't let it be one of my girls. Not that I wish it on anyone else, but that thought of losing someone is just, it's just awful to me. So I am very mindful. But yes, Sarah, if you go on to, I can't remember the website I went to, but I typed in percentage of women who are killed leaving their relationship. Like, I just went into Google and literally typed that in, and up came a whole truckload of sites, and you will be really shocked at just what the statistics are. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So yes, so we need to keep ourselves safe, and that may well be, I've got Facebook Live tonight, and I was going to talk about how women find themselves caught in toxic relationships with a toxic toad. But if you want me to, I can do a Facebook Live on safe leaving. So I can do that too. I might even do that. I can print that blog post out because it's a little while before it'll go up, and I can do a talk on that. So I'll have a think and see where my head is as to which one I want to do. So tonight, don't forget, On the Couch with Elizabeth from 7:30 to 8:30 Australian time. And I will come in and do a little bit of a talk on a relationships topic. For those of you who are in the US or any other country as part of our group, you can come back in and do catch-up TV, because all of our Facebook Lives get posted in the group, and you can go back and you can watch them, which is, of course, great. So for those of you that, can't see me in real time, that's a way for you